The gauntlet is laid down. The haka led by replacement scrum half Aaron Smith. And New Zealand, Tulsa Tullett, look like they mean business tonight.
Absolutely, they do. We've mentioned it. They're coming off that first ever loss in the pool stages at a Rugby World Cup, and they'll be hurting. They'll be looking to come up with a big performance. They played Namibia a couple of times at the Rugby World Cup, and surprisingly they've won comfortably on both occasions. And I do fear for Namibia in this one, because even though they did so well in that game against Italy, they are going to struggle against an All Blacks team coming off the back of that loss to France in the first up game last Friday. For Namibia, it's all about keeping things simple. Tiaan Swanepoel at 10 is going to be crucial for them. His kicking game, his ability to pass the ball, he has to be that link between the forwards and the backs, and it has to come up with something to really get these neutral supporters here in Toulouse behind his side. A wonderful stadium, as we've always mentioned. The lights are on with the crowd. They've all got their phone lights on. Just imagine that with the noise and those lights happening, and now we're about to get kickoff here in what is going to be a crucial Pool A match.
It is 9 p.m. kickoff local time in Toulouse. It is 7 in the morning in New Zealand. Kiwis will be getting up early to watch and listen to this one. It is late in the evening in Namibia. This commentary being broadcast live right around the planet for World Rugby and on BBC Radio Sport Extra. Temperatures this evening noticeably cooler than a week ago when these sides played their first games at the tournament. New Zealand are going to get us started. Beauden Barrett picks a few blades of grass from the turf, sprinkles them through his fingers, watches where the wind guides them. It feels a night when the wind will play its part. We've already seen the tall posts waving a little bit in the breeze as Beauden Barrett prepares to get us started. Referee Luke Pearce from England is the man in charge. He has refereed New Zealand games before, but this is the first time at a Rugby World Cup. Namibia, wearing white, will play from left to right as we look down. And the crowd who've had their mobile phones out and illuminating the air with their dancing and bubbling flashlights now bellow out the countdown. The right-footed kick of Beauden Barrett will land inside the Namibian 22. Richard Hardwick brings it up to the edge of that 22. Right of centre as Namibia come away, and Tiaan Swanepoel, who kicked well against Italy last week, sends a long kick searching down into the New Zealand half. It's fielded by Damien McKenzie on the edge of the 22. First time to get hands on ball for Caleb Clark, and he brings New Zealand almost up to the halfway line. Quick injection of pace as it's flung out to the left hand side to Lester Faiananuku. Only a fifth cap for the Crusaders wing. Up to the halfway line come the All Blacks. Whitelock, really quick recycling as Brodie Retallick is on the receiving end of a crunching challenge in the midfield, but he doesn't drop the ball, and New Zealand are able to work it out wide, and a chance for Clark now to come veering infield from a wide position, eventually tackled 10 metres inside the Namibian half. Quick recycling by Cam Roigard back out to Damien McKenzie. Roigard making his Rugby World Cup debut, picks the narrower side now as he throws it to Beauden Barrett on his right. Barrett's able to spin away from a tackle, and New Zealand now are within 10 metres of the Namibian 22. Roigard comes running from right to left across the field. Dummies a pop pass. It eventually comes back for Damien McKenzie. Now Barrett kicks to the left-hand side. Perfectly judged. Faiananuku gathers and offloads to David Havie, and New Zealand are into the 22.
Yeah, they picked the right way to come, and as they go through, they're going to score a try.
Cam Roigard will go over on his Rugby World Cup debut for the opening try of the game in Toulouse. It has taken 1 minute 40 seconds for New Zealand to break the deadlock tonight. No messing around. It has been the attitude right from the start. It's a very early try for Cam Roigard. It's his second for his country.
Yeah, Roygaard there, the beneficiary of lovely phases of play. Johan Dijssel, the Namibian captain, was struggling with a shoulder injury. They came back to his side, they threw the ball over the top, but they held on to it crucially and stayed in field, and it was just a simple play coming through there by the left winger, Fainga Anuku, who just found Roygaard back inside. Poor tackling, poor defence, but wonderful play from New Zealand.
We wonder how big the scoreline could become tonight. It was 58 points to 14 in London in 2015. It was 71 points to 9 to the All Blacks in Tokyo 4 years ago. Damien McKenzie makes no mistake with the conversion kick. And it is New Zealand 7, Namibia 0 already.
It was well worked by the man who gave the last pass there in Fainga Anuku. Wonderful ball inside, and Cam Roygaard just unmarked, but they worked them over from side to side, Connor. That was the important thing there, and they made the Namibians make tackles, and crucially, that is what's going to hurt them tonight, how many tackles they make.
So the restart from Namibia, trailing 7-0 already. Beauden Barrett receives it 10 metres in front of the post that New Zealand defender. They're going to try and run it out. Good hands from Whitelock, and now the chase is on as a kick ahead by David Havi goes out on the full. And that will send New Zealand back. It'll be a line out to Namibia, just inside the 10-metre line inside the All Blacks territory.
Well, Sam Whitelock was clapping his hands in the air, but I don't think there'll be a few players who'd be too happy with that, because if Havili keeps the ball in play, there's 3 or 4 New Zealanders coming down there, Namibia having to cover across, and then all of a sudden they're under massive pressure again. But what a start this has been from Ian Foster's side. They have been outstanding in this opening few minutes.
Heavy is the crown on the All Blacks coach. It is a highly pressured job. Success is demanded, and after last weekend's defeated Paris, New Zealand can accept nothing short of a wonderful performance tonight. Namibia for the first time have possession in hand, and Swanepoel went for the grubber kick, hit the shins of Sam Whitelock. Namibia still have it just outside the 22. Right-hand side as the African nation come forward. Prince Gorseb, who played against the All Blacks 4 years ago in Japan, takes it into contact. Namibia working a bit further infield. Here's Swanepoel again. A layoff to Vian Conrade into the 22. Whistle from the referee, and it will be penalty to Namibia. Now, what do they decide to do here?
Number 5 not running away.
Well, I think you've got to go to the corner. But I like what they did there. You can't just hold on to possession. You need to work the opposition team over. It's no point holding on to possession, moving it forward. You need to go 1 and 2 wide. The crowd are enjoying this because Swanepoel has gone to the corner. I don't blame him at all because they're quite capable of scoring points.
Front part yours, Bracey.
Cheers of encouragement for the crowd. Plenty Kiwis here, but all the others urging Namibia on to create a bit of Rugby World Cup history here. Sam Whitelock at his 148th cap was the player who gave away the penalty. First line out of the match, Thorsten van Jaarsveld, good throw, forward propulsion from Namibia. They are 7 or 8 metres away from the All Blacks try line. 7-0 the All Blacks lead in Toulouse. Bright start to the game tonight on a windy evening in the southwest of France. It's there for Namibia, popped back to Johan Dijssel, who scored against the All Blacks in the past. And then the ball is knocked forward. There's an advantage to New Zealand, and they're going to run it from deep, from their own try line. It's all the way out to the right-hand side, and a press of acceleration for Barrett. Tackled just a little bit late on Cam Roygaard as he kicks ahead. Ball goes over the try line. McKenzie dives on it. Did he get a touchdown to it? Referee was sprinting to try and keep up with play there. New Zealand celebrating in the hope they've scored a second try already, but surely not.
Well, it was Caleb Clark who made that initial breakdown there, but I think this might be a try.
Brian, can you just let us know the restart, please? Third question. No on-field decision.
So you heard there, no on-field decision. Now, McKenzie took the ball just near the try line. I think Namibia were hoping the ball would go back into the in goal before they then grounded it. I don't think they wanted to get the ball and then be back in the in goal because it comes back out for that 5-metre scrum. Now, the ball is taken there. Well, he's grounded it before the line.
Just before the line. So to paint the picture for our listeners, the ball is bobbling towards the line. McKenzie, who sprinted 80 metres to get there, dives as if he's diving into a swimming pool. He gets forward motion of the ball, but it's before the try line. And that's the voice of Brian McNeice, who's the TMO, confirming no try on this occasion. The scoreline remains New Zealand 7, Namibia 0.
Brian McNeice would be happy with a nice, easy decision to make there. That wasn't any difficulty at all, but it was definitely knocked forward. But the problem has been for Namibia is when they run the ball, they're being clattered so hard and knocked backwards, and the ball's came out a couple of times, but they're not getting over the gain line. They're being knocked backwards. It's giving the New Zealanders the opportunity to ruck the ball back. And on occasions, they've been dropping the ball. They can't afford to do that.
Okay, enough now. Yeah, I'll talk to you in the next one.
Agonisingly close for New Zealand, but no try. 5-metre scrum to Namibia. It's absolutely been end-to-end this game so far. Namibia have been banging on the door of the try line down one end. New Zealand have already scored one try. 6.5 minutes played in Toulouse. This is Pool A. Damien Stevens, 42nd cap for the Namibian scrum half. Good push by the Kiwis here. They're forcing Namibia back over their own try line. Turnover off the scrum. Roygaard swivels and scores. 2 tries inside 7 minutes for New Zealand. And the Namibian scrum was simply annihilated there on their own put-in. 12 points to 0 with the conversion to come.
Brutalised is the way I'd like to say that, because they were absolutely pummeled back over their line. If they'd have won that ball then, you suspect they're not going to make much yardage. They're going to be out near the 22-30 metre line. But from that, they just lost the ball completely. They were absolutely overpowered, out-muscled, annihilated, as you mentioned. And if that's going to set the tone for the scrum this evening, they could be in all sorts of trouble.
Well, it's not been a bad starting debut for the All Blacks for Cam Roygaard, has it? He has got his second and third international tries in the space of 7 minutes. With a conversion to come, it's already 12-0. Damien McKenzie with a chance. This is a more testing conversion attempt for the Chiefs player. Who plays full-back regularly at club level. But number 10 on his back for New Zealand. Rain has begun to fall. It is a windy night. You can see very visibly the posts are moving in that breeze as Damien McKenzie comes forward to strike the ball. He's trying to hit a moving target here, and he sends it across the face of goal and wide. So 12-0 it remains. 2 tries from Cam Roygaard.
And 2 well-worked tries as well. The first one, he was the beneficiary of an inside ball, and that one there, he was the beneficiary of his scrum. So he's seen his wingers help him out, and he's seen his forwards help him out, and he has been the man who's picked up the points that come with it. Yeah, a slight bit of rain falling. I don't think it's going to cause too many issues. This is a very good surface here in Stade Toulouse. It is absolutely wonderful. Besides that, there's a bit of a breeze blowing, and I do expect the ball to come up in the air a bit more from New Zealand if they have to. But as McKenzie puts the ball out from down near his own try line, defines the line about 40 metres out, I suspect that New Zealand will want to get the ball in hand as much as possible to really work over the Namibian defence.
New Zealand 12, Namibia 0 this Friday night game in Pool A. Line out to Namibia, far side of the field from us, left-hand side as they come forward. Thorsten Jan Jarsveld preparing to take the throw as the refrain to the Marseillaise echoes around the stadium in Toulouse. French public have very much enjoyed this opening week of the tournament so far. They were given a test by Uruguay last night, but it's 2 wins out of 2 for the French in this pool.
Here he is.
Penalty to Namibia, 10-metre line. Stevens tries to take it quickly. Referee makes him come back.
Well, you have to go to the corner now, don't you? You're 12-0 down, and as soon as I say that, what do? They go for the posts.
So, Tian Swanepoel, who we watched him taking some practice kicks last week, he's got an enormous boot on him. Legend has it that in training he sometimes lands kicks from 70 metres out. This one is 10 metres inside the Kiwi half. He'll certainly have the distance, but in this swirling breeze with the post vibrating, can Swanepoel put this one between the posts and put Namibia on the scoreboard? He's got orange boots. He's just come back to replace the ball again on the tee. If you're just joining our coverage on rugbyworldcup.com, on the Rugby World Cup app, or indeed on BBC Radio Sport Extra, this is the early stages of this game tonight, and a chance for Namibia to get on the scoreboard for the first time, trailing by 12 points to nil after 2 early tries from Cam Roygar. Swanepoel, who takes a relatively short run up, given the power that he then propels onto the ball. He stands, the shot clock is almost down to 0 as he kicks it low trajectory through the wind. That's a fine strike. Namibia on the board. 12-3 in Toulouse.
It wasn't his best strike, I wouldn't have said, but just to give you an idea of the wind and the posts are moving to the side, so he's got the post to contend with. Now, it may work for you if the post part ways and go further, but that one there, he's nailed it, but it wasn't his greatest kick. But I don't know in those situations whether if you're 12-0 down, you need to come up with tries against New Zealand.
It feels, to use a golf analogy, he's on the links on a windy day. He doesn't want to use the sand wedge here. He's trying to play it a 4-iron through the posts, and well, they're on the board anyway, which on a night when Namibia will take whatever they can, that is a bare minimum, that is something. 11 and a half minutes played, 12-3, New Zealand's favour. Now, scrum time. This scrum midway into Namibian territory. Left-hand side of the field as New Zealand come forward, but it's a Namibian put-in. Luke Pearce just directing the front rows into position.
Crouch!
New Zealand scrum, which was put under pressure by France last week, but they did so well on that previous scrum when they pushed Namibia back to score the second try. Again, it's a huge heave by the Kiwis. That is going to be a dominant area tonight. Nice sidestep by Gershon Mouton to make up some 15 metres, and then he's bundled into touch short of the halfway line. I think tonight, Tilson, Namibia will get that ball into the scrum and they'll get it out as quickly as possible.
You have to. Mouton did well. There was some wonderful footwork down this near side of the pitch. He scored a lovely try against Italy in their opening Pool A encounter, but there, the slippery surface, he was taken over the sideline. But you don't want to be giving away cheap balls to New Zealand inside your own half. I worry them, what they've got to do is to make sure they get to that breakdown really quickly. That's been an issue for them early here as well.
So New Zealand of possession.
Hasn't changed.
Savisuri Takeaho, the hooker, at the back of them all, and in danger of losing it here. Referee says play on, but there was an altercation. It will be a penalty to New Zealand, and it is Chui Uenibi who was penalised, the second row.
Way offside then. That was a pretty easy decision there for Luke Pearce to make on that occasion. So here we go. You're 5 metres inside the opposition half. They're going to be looking to put the ball as far down to that corner as you can. Now, this is what I alluded to earlier. This is where Namibia had problems against Italy. When they took that and they got the rolling maul going, they were under all sorts of pressure, and we've seen what's happened already in the scrum situation. So let's see what happens now if they take the ball into a maul.
Good kick from Bowden Barrett. Forces a line out inside the Namibia 22. It's been taken already by Takeaho. Forward propulsion from the All Blacks as Namibia tried to force them towards the sideline, but a good change of gear from New Zealand to veer in field, and they're now 12 metres from the Namibian try line. Now it's released out to the backs. Stephen with an enormous throw out to Caleb Clark, makes a burst for the line. 2 defenders to beat, and Clark is held up a metre short. Stevens with an enormous throw from right to left, but New Zealand unable to get in the corner. They still might. Roygaard is there, flings it back to Stevens. He sets off on a run towards the post. Delayed pass was beyond Laulala. The referee blows the whistle. No advantage to New Zealand. It'll come back for the earlier scrum. Penalty, sorry.
Number 2, up the side of them all.
So I think we'll be seeing exactly the same thing again, and they're in a closer position. But we saw just a moment ago with that rolling maul, they had them under all sorts of pressure. And from this position here, it is going to take a monumental effort to hold them out. But they're moving them from one side of the field to the other. They're keeping that maul going, and they're sucking defenders in further and further. Hence, while we had that wide ball out and there were numbers for the All Blacks.
Just, time off, please.
Luke Pearce just making sure the correct numbers are in the line. There's also a player receiving medical treatment in the try area, so Damien Stevens has been patched up, and because of the close proximity to where this line-out will be, the referee wants that to be completed before the line-out can be taken. If you're just tuning away, New Zealand 12, Namibia 3. High-scoring opening quarter of an hour in Toulouse.
Absolutely, it's been very entertaining as well. So for the neutral who are watching on, they'll be enjoying this because they're getting their money's worth, because both teams are having a bit of a crack. Now, unfortunately for Namibia, as we know, what's going to happen is they're going to tire as the match moves into the second half. They are going to have water breaks at the 20-minute mark in each half as well. So there's going to be a quick chance for a minute or so to regroup and have a quick chat about what's going on. But you don't want to be out of the contest by that point. You want to be in the contest. You want to be trying to get something down the other end and not trying to live off penalty goals or drop goals.
Thank you, time on.
Line out could be taken 5 metres out from the Namibian try line. New Zealand looking for their third touchdown of the game. This one's won by Retallick in the centre of the line. And now New Zealand look for the heave as Roygaard comes in at the base, but the forwards want to take this on themselves, and the push is unstoppable. Samisoni Takeaho gets his 11th international try for the All Blacks, and that was all about pure, raw, unharnessed power. It's New Zealand 17, Namibia 3.
It's all looking a bit ominous, isn't it? We saw with Namibia in their opening game what Italy did to them, and this is an even more crushing maul that's coming in from the All Blacks. They took the ball in, they moved it forward. It was so simple for them. They rolled around, they never came to a stop, and they just kept on moving and edging themselves forward. I actually thought Roygaard at the back there might pinch the ball and get his hat-trick within 20 minutes. It wasn't to be.
Okay, so we're going to look at
There's Takeaho who picks the ball up, but they are going to look
show me on the screen, please, mate.
at the TMO for a possible obstruction. So this try, not official just yet.
Yeah, Damien McKenzie was getting ready to take the conversion. He's been told to hold his horses as TMO Brian McNeice has a look at the various angles in the build-up, and they want to see if there's an obstruction in the line-out.
Black, we'll line it up for you now. Just
Number 1 is Offa Tuanga Fassi. Number 5 is Sam Whitelock. Did they fall foul of the law in the build-up to this try?
First angle now, Luke.
Well, the ball's taken cleanly.
Yeah, pretty clear. Number 1 is in front
Yeah.
and preventing the access from Namibia defender, isn't it?
Yeah, both 1 and 5.
So there is an obstruction.
Try penalty on here on the 15, isn't it?
Tuanga Fassi and Whitelock,
Yep,
So let me know when
both
we're
in
done,
front
that's it. We're done now. We're back on you.
of the catcher Retallick. So that's going to be no try.
mate. Obstruction.
It's going to be a penalty to Namibia, and it's going to be they who get the opportunity to get out. And what a lucky escape that one was there.
So Samisoni Takeaho, who thought he had a Rugby World Cup try to his name, is denied. And a penalty for Namibia to kick away, and they remain 9 points behind. 4 years ago in Japan, New Zealand ended up running in a cricket score against Namibia, but there was only 1 point between the teams after 23 minutes. Namibia actually held it well in that opening quarter of the game, and they would very much like this not to get into a double figures advantage too early in this game tonight. But the infringement of the line out in the immediate aftermath of it is what has denied New Zealand that try there.
Now, I hate to look ahead to games, but Namibia and Uruguay later in this pool is going to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, we very much enjoyed watching the spirit of the Uruguayans last night against the hosts. Line out to be taken by Thorsten van Jaarsveld, taken at the front of the line cleanly. Now, amid
In 5.
pressure from New Zealand, can
Okay,
Namibia
one stop
use
area.
this? Swanepoel steps in, kicks ahead. They'll all sprint in pursuit, led by Gershwin Mouton. Taken well by Damien Stevens, right up against the choke of the touchline. Throws it into Bowden Barrett, who's tackled immediately between the 22 of the New Zealand half and the 10-metre line. Referee has seen an infringement. He's going to come back, and just a hesitation by the referee, Luke Pearce there. There is a Namibian player who's down injured, and they're going to need a stretcher here, and I think this is going to be quite a serious injury for one of the New Zealand players, which will force a replacement. So 17 minutes played, 12 minutes to 3, 12 points to 3 that New Zealand lead in Toulouse. And we're going to have a pause here because Namibia are going to have to be forced to make a change.
And the referee, Luke Pearce, almost ran away from that. Such was how bad that injury is.
So applause from the crowd in Toulouse here as As we just wait here, we're just seeing on our screens Alistair Coetzee, the Namibian coach, and he'll have radio contact with down on the pitch, former South African head coach. And this delay in play just gives us a chance to remind you of what's coming up on this very busy weekend at this World Cup in France. Tomorrow, Samoa against Chile gets things started in Bordeaux. That's a mid-afternoon kickoff, 3 o'clock French time. Check worldrugby.com for kickoff times wherever you're listening across the world. Wales back in action tomorrow. A lot of changes when they take on Portugal. That's in Group C. That game being played down in the south of France in Nice. 5:45 kickoff French time. And then tomorrow evening, Ireland back in action. The world number one's taking on Tonga. That's Pool B, 9 o'clock kickoff French time. And Nantes is the venue for Ireland against Tonga tomorrow evening.
It almost felt like, didn't it, after having a bit of a break this week, that all of a sudden the tournament has restarted again after having a few days off. As we move forward, we'll have games on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday as well. So it's going to be a bit more uniformed as far as what we go, but it's very difficult for teams because at the beginning you have to give everyone a nice break in between games because of player welfare. It's so important to make sure that you don't have that small gap between games so that everyone's given the vital opportunity to reassess and get yourself and your body back in order.
So if you're joining our coverage here, New Zealand 12, Namibia 3, injury treatment being received by Johan Retief down on the pitch. Both teams have come away into a huddle. Medical staff are out there in plenty of numbers. They've brought out a stretcher as well. There's as at all the Rugby World Cup games, there is world-class medical facilities available. There are medics. There are all the different facilities. Golf-style cart has come out with another stretcher now, so we can be rest assured that the best of treatment will be given to any injured players down on the pitch. But moment now when the other players have to focus on the task at hand. New Zealand players have got the ball in their hands. They're going through a few passing drills just to stay sharp. There is some concern on the face of the Namibian players as they have concern understandably for their colleague, but the medical teams are working on that right now, and the crowd very much applauding as well and showing their support in this concerning moment. Early tries scored for New Zealand. Cam Roygaard, the scrum half who turns 23 in November, only his third cap, first time he started for his country. And New Zealand too have been out of the blocks tonight with the point to prove after being beaten by France last weekend, and they certainly have laid down the early structure here over the try line on 3 occasions, one of them disallowed by the TMO, but an evening that Cam Roygaard is not going to forget. He scored on his test debut earlier on this year against Australia. He's got his second and third tries for his country tonight. A lot of competition for that number 9 shirt, but they're hoping that Cam Roygaard can be one, not just for the future, but be one this month and next month here in France.
Well, he certainly started this game in emphatic fashion with those couple of tries, and Latifi's just been moved onto the Medicab to be taken off the pitch, and it may actually help Namibia in a way here to have this break in play, just to give them a rest. I suspect this might even be given as that water break, because we've got a bit of a break. Both teams are there clapping Retief off as he's taken off the pitch, but you don't want to see your match or your World Cup dream end like that, because it's a pretty bad injury by the looks of things, and it doesn't look like he's going to take any further part in this World Cup tournament. Great to see both teams there clapping him off the pitch, because it's a very tough game, and I've been in positions where I've seen injuries and bad things happen, and nobody wants to see a bad injury to a player. They want to play the game hard, they want to play the game tough, and they want to be fair to each other. And unfortunately that was just one of those things that happens in sport, and the players quite rightly clapping him off the pitch, because that is something you don't want to see in the crowd as well. Very knowledgeable, understanding that those things happen in the sport, and an early substitution for Namibia. So they're going to be back to 15 players in a moment or two's time, and we'll work out exactly who it is who's gone off the pitch.
We think it's Laroom Allen who's the injured player. JC Kareling is going to come on as his replacement. Standing ovation by both sets of players and the officials there. I think everyone realises how hard these players work to get to the World Cup, the sacrifices, the training that is put in, and It does look like Leroux Mallon will not be taking further part. Look at that. He's raising up his hand as an acknowledgement to the crowd, who are then giving him a really big cheer. So as he goes off on that motorised stretcher, a raised right hand, which is a good sign to see. Leroux Mallon down there. Greiling is on as his replacement. Namibia back to 15, and play will start again with a scrum. Match clock has been stuck at 17 minutes during all of that, as the remainder of the Namibian replacements go to warm up. Right, a delay, but a very necessary one to ensure that the best medical care was given to Leroux Mallon there. And it will be a scrum to New Zealand to get us started again. It's between the 22 and the 10-metre line inside their own half. Cam Roygaard with a put-in, the Hurricane scrum half. Well, for Toanga Fassi, Sami Soy, Teko Aho and Nepo Laulala, the front three for New Zealand. Jason Benari, Torsten van Jaarsveld and Ranos Kotzie, the front three for Namibia. Dominant scrum again from the All Blacks, and they get it out to David Havi. He loses it, but it bounced upwards and not forward. 10-metre line, it was gathered, I think, by Sam Whitelock there. New Zealand are able to run into Namibian territory. Luke Jacobson gets almost to the 22 before he's taken down. Quickly recycled. Cam Roygaard back in field to Damien McKenzie. McKenzie, 10 metres inside the Namibian half, has David Havi on his right shoulder. Another few hard yards won by New Zealand. McKenzie tries a sidestep. He's tackled to the ground by Prince Gerse. New Zealand still have it, and it's with the prop Nepo Laulala. Now helped out by a wonderful flick by Toanga Fassi. That's brilliant. Luke Jacobson will run to the line, and he's tackled 4 metres short. The tackle by Gershwin Mouton. New Zealand trying to follow up in numbers. Namibia having to defend desperately here. 2 metres out from the try line. Ball had been knocked forward by New Zealand. It'll come back for an earlier offside. Penalty for the Kiwis. They take it quickly. Roygaard out to McKenzie. Sidestep in underneath the post. Third try for New Zealand. That was made to look easy. 17 points to 3. The conversion to come for Damien McKenzie. It's his 16th international try.
McKenzie has had absolutely magical footwork in this game. He is like a ballerina, moving from left to right. He looks absolutely fantastic with the ball in both hands. But what about the movement from New Zealand? Their hands and the speed of hand, and out the back, under the legs, all sorts of passes have been coming out. And they've been looking like a team who are looking for retribution after what happened last week. But it's wonderful footwork from McKenzie, off the right, back off the left, next to the post, defence not covering, and he'll take the conversion of his own try to put his side even further in front. 17-3, kick to come, that takes them out to 19-3.
Yes, he touched down directly underneath the post to give himself the most straightforward of conversion kicks. Damien McKenzie slots it over, and New Zealand flex their muscles on what was always going to be an arduous task for Namibia. This is a wounded All Blacks, and after what happened last week, they are coming out, showing what they can do, looking to get their World Cup campaign back on track. 19 points to 3 in the first half in Toulouse. We've played 20 minutes, so we're midway through this first period. Tian Swanepoel with a restart again. A drop kick that comes down inside the New Zealand 22, fielded by Damien McKenzie. His right-footed kick has got good distance on it, and it finds touch just outside the Namibian 22. Cliven Loops had thought about a quick one, but it's got to be a regulation line out. Good distance on that from Damien McKenzie. And New Zealand doing all the simple things right, and then the little bit of flair as well, which is making things impossible for Namibia.
Yeah, I think that when Namibia, though, have got an opportunity to take that quick line at then and just bring the ball back. Now, worst case scenario is you get the ball back towards the halfway line, and you kick the ball into the corner. But they're now in a position where if New Zealand pinch the ball, they're under pressure on their own 22-metre line. You've got an opportunity to take a quick one. Back yourself to do it. Even if it's the man in Swanepoel who's taking the ball forward and kicking it into the corner down the far end, they're down there.
Here come New Zealand again. David Havi, good ball. Bowden Barrett's hands on to Lester Fayananuku, but It went forward, and it's going to be a scrum to Namibia just outside their own 22. The lightning speed at which the All Blacks send it from one side of the field to the other. Anton Leonard-Brown was the player who sent the forward pass. So that will be a scrum to Namibia, who are hanging on here.
But that's what I go back to. They lose the line out when they could have taken the quick one under no pressure to bring the ball at least 15 to 20 metres in hand through Swanepoel, who then could have put it into the corner, and they're back down in an attacking position. As it is, they get the ball back now, luckily, but if that pass hadn't have gone forward because there's such a breeze that's swirling around the stadium with a bit of rain as well, then they would have been in trouble again.
Yeah, we've been here for a few hours. The wind is stronger now than it has been all evening. The rain is falling. We've been in France for over a week. This is the first rain that we've seen on our travels, but
I've got a jacket on.
Well, yes, Tolson did tell me to bring a jacket, and I, being a tough, hardy Irishman, I refused to listen.
And you're wearing shorts as well.
This is warm in Ireland, Tolson, as you well know. So 19 points to 3. New Zealand need Namibia here. That's a little bit better from Namibia. Prince Kesa provides the ball back for Damian Stevens, and his high kick will come down just short of the New Zealand 22. Caught by Lester Faiananuku, who will run up to the 10-metre line. Little bit sloppy as it comes back to Cam Roygaard, but everything under control for the All Blacks. They have clean possession, 10-metre line inside their own half. Attempts by Johan Retief to win possession there. It's taken into contact again by Nepo Lalala. Few big hits coming in from Namibia. They thought for a moment they were going to steal it, but it's illegal.
Well, I think Namibia are actually unlucky then. I think the ball...
The ruck was okay. Diving on an emerging ball. 5.
Well, I think the ball was almost lost forward by New Zealand before that happened. So I think they're unlucky that they could have had a scrum there, Namibia.
It was Prince Koseb again. The kick from Bowden Barrett, even in the wind, he made that look easy. It's from 10 metres inside his own half. He kicks it all the way down into the Namibian 22. That was a Kiwi penalty, so it'll be a Kiwi line-out. Retallick is at the front, and he is the target that is chosen. And then it's very quickly given back to Papali'i. And now Faiananuku has got the muscle and the power. And with 3 hanging out of him, he gets over the line. He took that from about 12 metres out, and wild horses wouldn't have stopped him. It's a long-awaited first international try for New Zealand for Lester Faiananuku. And he brings New Zealand to 24 points to 3 now, with the conversion to come.
Well, Faiananuku, when he went through that first tackle, you could hear the noise from up here. Such was the speed that he went through it at, and almost slapped into the defender. But he went through, he just about held onto the ball as he goes across the line, and the try is given. Almost lost the ball in the wet conditions. It hasn't gone any further, but the rain is absolutely bucketing down now. It is horrendous for what we've seen over the past week or so. It is streaming down rain, but that is a wonderful try to hold on to it from Lester Faiananuku, and they are in all sorts of trouble now, Namibia, because this weather is certainly not going to help. It's almost like monsoon weather.
Can Damien McKenzie land this conversion? It's a tester. Wide out on the left-hand side. Into the driving rain he sends it. And it hits the post. It hits the post and comes back. How close was that? Wonderful effort from Damien McKenzie. But it doesn't go over. New Zealand remain 24 points to 3 in front for now. The 2 tries from Roygaard. McKenzie got one himself. Now Lester Faiananuku. And it does seem to be a question of how many are New Zealand going to score tonight. Spectators behind the goal away to our right-hand side are getting absolutely drenched. We are fortunate we're deep under the stadium roof here. Even then we can still feel a few splashes. Supporters away to our right are being drowned over there.
Well, I can actually feel those drops here at the moment. It is, quite different to what we've experienced over the first week of this tournament. The New Zealanders will be actually used to it.
Yes. This is very much New Zealand in winter weather. As from the restart, ball is gathered. Namibia quickly up with a challenge. David Avili had caught it, but he's bundled into touch by Vian Conradi. Good work from Namibia. That'll be a line out for them midway inside the All Blacks 22. New Zealand leading 24-3. This is live commentary on rugbyworldcup.com. Also the Rugby 2023 app and on BBC 5 Sports Extra. In Toulouse, in the driving rain, under the Friday night lights. Line out to be taken by Thorsten van Jaarsveld. Towards the rear of the line, which is overly ambitious in these conditions. Wasn't straight. New Zealand will have a choice, and they want to scrum.
Well, when things aren't going for you, they're not going for you, are they? It went over the back. We thought it was a New Zealand knock-on. It would be a Namibia scrum. Ball not straight to start with, though, which supersedes the second decision. And now New Zealand have the scrum. But the bigger the thing is, the bigger the game from Namibia, the simpler they have to keep things, especially in conditions like this.
Yeah.
You're in a position now where you don't want to be taking the ball too far. You want to be getting the ball out and having players drop back inside and keeping those players available to get into those rucks. You don't want to be isolated in these conditions.
Yeah, it felt ambitious to take on a long throw like that in the wind and the rain, and it has ended up being a wasted opportunity for Namibia. New Zealand regained possession. Roygaard rolls it in. Very steady hold by the front rows of the All Blacks. It's there for Adi Savea, the captain. Back to McKenzie, who tries a little kick forward. That's perfectly judged. Now they're in trouble here. Caleb Clark accelerates to the halfway line and is taken down. Quickly recycled by New Zealand. McKenzie kicks again. Kicks into the 22. Bounces over the try line. And sprinting back there, Clive Loopser is able to touch it down for a 22.
Well, they'll take that, Namibia. They're going to have to drop the ball back out from on their own line, but they'll take that with a bit of a rest there to get themselves back in that right position. I think if we go back to that line out that happened 60 seconds or so ago, in these conditions, you've really got to throw it to the front. You have to. You have to make sure you retain possession and at least get the ball from the line out, work it a couple of phases, try and put the opposition under some pressure.
You mentioned earlier about the opportunity Namibia had to take a quick line-out throw. It's something we saw Uruguay do very effectively last night. It's a lot easier sitting here than down in the cauldron, but those decisions might be able to settle things down a little bit for Namibia as we approach the half-hour mark in Toulouse. And evidence of the wind as they kicked out, it went out for a play directly, and that again gives a choice to New Zealand, and they opt to come all the way back for a 5-metre scrum. And again, Namibia on a difficult night aren't making life easy for themselves with a kick like that.
And I'm not going to lie, the worst position to be in from a scrum is 5 metres out from your own line.
Because to the post.
Well, I played the backs, but as a back, defensively, trying to defend against a team like this and trying to work out what they're going to do can be an absolute nightmare. It's bad enough having that, but then they've got the scrum to contend with on top of that. And you would suspect, with the strength of the New Zealand scrum, they've got one plan on their mind here and one plan only.
Namibia have to spread themselves very thin just to paint the picture for listeners tuned our way around the world. 5-metre scrum in front of the post, so there's options left and right. New Zealand have split the backs, but that forces Namibia to split their backs. So there's only 3 players defending on either side of the field. That's a lot of try line to cover. Cam Roygaard prepares to put it in. Front rows bind together. New Zealand who've dominated these scrums. There was an early push, too early. Free kick Namibia, let off.
They've almost wiped the, I was going to say sweat from their brow, but water because of the rain. A few words said as well by the looks of it. So they've been marched a further 10 metres, and I'm sure Ian Foster will not be happy with that because it might be a minor thing. But when you get into those bigger games, you don't want those type of things creeping in. You have to be respectful of a decision. And if you've come in too early, you've gone in too early. The referee is the one in charge of things. You don't talk back because that will happen straight away. Namibia now, with the line out against them, just 5 metres inside their own half because they kicked out from that free kick.
New Zealand 24, Namibia 3, but that was an unforced error from the All Blacks, and they don't want too many of those tonight. They expect to win this game, but they really want to win it in style. They win this line-out. And Lester Fayananuku takes it over the halfway line. Centre of the field as New Zealand come forward wearing all black. Namibia in white and blue. Good tackle by Richard Hardwick. One-time Wallaby in the past, who tries to stem the All Blacks' flow. Roygaard throws it back to Sam Whitelock. Good work by McKenzie with a quick release, and Bowden Barrett makes up about 10 metres and gets midway into Namibian territory. Lightning fast recycled by Roygaard. Taken into contact again by Brodie Retallick. Now McKenzie goes for an expansive kick out to the right-hand side to Caleb Clark, who's had an enjoyable game so far. When he's had possession, invariably he's had room to make it work. They go down the narrow side once again. Ardi Savea's throw did deflect off a Namibian, but it went backwards, as you'll have heard from referee Luke Pearce there. Then there's a knock-on, and this is going to be activated.
It was a knock-on, but then this guy's holding on, stopping number 8 getting the ball.
Penalty to Namibia.
Holding.
Now, a couple of things. First of all, the Namibian defence out wide. When they're going up, they're trying to come up and in. The problem they're doing is they're not communicating with each other. So one is going up, one's staying back, and there was a gap for the New Zealanders to go through. Vian Conradi, in fairness, made a wonderful cover tackle. And then on the far side, New Zealand are going with those kicks to one side, to the left winger, to the right winger. They're going to have to try and nullify that. The ball's going out, it's going to Namibia with a throw in. We should just clarify as well for anyone who's new to the game of rugby that you hear us talking about the line outs and when the ball's being thrown in. If it's a free kick and you kick the ball out, it will go to the opposition team when the line out takes place. If it's your penalty and you put the ball out, it will be your throw in because you've got the penalty right there to throw the ball in.
As is the case on this occasion, Thorsten Jan Varsel is handed a towel and he uses it to wipe the wet ball just outside the New Zealand 22. Namibia, who've had to absorb so much pressure defensively, they would love to apply a bit of pressure here. Line out is taken, rehearse move. Richard Hardwick can't gather. That's a real waste for Namibia as they give away possession at the line out. And Mackenzie's clever offload sets the All Blacks on their way. Beauden Barrett storming over the halfway line, looks in field, kicks it in front of Roygaard. This could be a hat-trick, but he's beaten to the dead ball line. Out over the end zone. Roygaard trying to get there. The kick from Barrett was fractionally too far. And it's no try New Zealand.
That would have been a nice little present in the first half, wouldn't it? A hat-trick before half-time. That's not too bad at all. New Zealand, they're just, again, cutting through that Namibian defence like that hot knife proverbially through butter. Again, players going up and one's on the inside, just not covering. You have to be communicating in defence. If you're going to go up quick, you can't have one go up and one stay back. It doesn't work that way against a team like this.
Evidence of the amount of rain that has fallen when Cam Roygaard tried to slide to touch that ball down. He went flying off the pitch into the advertising board, but it's like he was on a water slide there. A lot of liquid on the pitch as Swanepoel kicks forward. A high ball that comes down 10 metres inside Kiwi territory, fielded by Lester Fayananuku, taken on by Samisuni Takayaho. There's an advantage coming for New Zealand, so they can be expansive here. They can take risks. McKenzie flings it out to Caleb Clark on the right-hand side. He tries a little grubber kick. That's clever. Gets onto his own kick as well. Kicks it ahead the second time. This is all about the bounce. It's going to be a try for New Zealand. And it's Anton Lienert-Brown who touches it down. And he pretty much made that all for himself. 29 points to 3 with the conversion to come. A 13th international try for Anton Lienert-Brown, who also scored against Namibia in Japan 4 years ago.
They've been kicking the ball to the right, they've been kicking the ball to the left, this time with a penalty advantage. It's a speculative pass out wide from McKenzie. He knows he has that advantage play, and Lienert-Brown takes the ball and then puts a lovely weighted kick through. He couldn't have placed it any better if he'd have tried on his second kick. The first one, a little grubby kick through. The next one off his left foot, just to show how ambidextrous he is. It goes across the line. He puts his hands on it with downward pressure. A very simple try from the All Blacks. Now, it looks simple, but there's a bit of work that goes into doing that. There's a bit of experience that comes into doing it as well. And McKenzie now to add the extras.
Yeah, bonus points secured after 35 minutes tonight for New Zealand. This is the sort of response they wanted to that opening defeat in Paris last week. Damien McKenzie sends the conversion through the post. It's an additional 2 points. It moves New Zealand up to 31. 31 points to 3, and we still have over 4 minutes of game time remaining in this first half in Toulouse. This is a real test for Namibia now.
Yeah, quite a comprehensive performance so far. Namibia need to work on two things. Defensively, they need to be stronger when the ball goes wide and make sure they communicate. And secondly, their lineouts. They must have lost half of their lineouts. They've lost 3 lineouts at the moment compared to 4 they've won. That tells the story in itself. When you're losing that many, and New Zealand have had 5 lineouts and they've won all 5 of them, you've got to pick up that part of your game.
This commentary being broadcast live right around the planet for World Rugby, also on BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra. New Zealand putting up 31 points inside 36 minutes in Toulouse tonight. And they will hope to match, in around that sort of point-a-minute mark right the way through this game. However, from the restart, ball goes out of play, it'll come back to the halfway line, scrum to New Zealand. That sort of thing has happened a lot.
Just saw a shot of Alistair Curtsey, the head coach in Namibia, on our monitor, and he grimaced because he knows they're making those simple mistakes. When the ball's greasy and it's a slippery surface, you can't be kicking the ball so it's landing about 5 metres out from the opposition try line, because all that's going to happen is it's just going to keep on skidding and go all the way over the dead ball line, as it did on that occasion. And you're just giving away cheap position on the field. And with a team like this, who are so experienced and so problematic in the way they're playing the game against Namibia, they're going to come up with more points.
We saw Namibia play Italy last week. They didn't make these sort of mistakes. I guess that's the intimidation factor when you're up against the All Blacks.
It can be that. It could be just a little bit of inexperience in the way you do things. But I talked about it, and you've got to come back to the basics in a big game. You've got to do those basics correctly. Win your lineouts, win your scrums, and make sure you complete those tackles when the ball is going wide.
So New Zealand scrum, they win it comfortably on the halfway line. Cam Roigard sells a dummy and he's away, makes it to the 22, offload to Damien McKenzie, who's over for his second try of the game. They've run that from the halfway line, effortlessly over. New Zealand moved to 36 points to 3 with the conversion to come, and Damien McKenzie, who's been given his chance tonight in the number 10 shirt, looks to be taking that with both hands.
It was Vian Conradi who was slow to get off the scrum, the blindside flanker for Namibia. In turn, that led to Damien Stevens moving wide, no communication as we spoke about already, and then lovely hands there from Roigard to McKenzie, his halfback partner, around the outside, and he's picked up a couple. He's on a hat-trick as well now, Connor.
He's first got the conversion to go, but yes, Cam Roigard and Damien McKenzie, the half-back pairing, 4 tries between the two of them now. And Roigard definitely played his part in that try too. It was his break off the rear of the scrum that made up most of the ground, and then McKenzie was on hand to finish it off. He's had 4 of his 5 kicks so far successful. This one is midway between the posts and the touchline, left-hand side as New Zealand come forward. He's gone back a good 5 metres outside the 22, and here he comes forward, right-footed, spiralling, swirling, and sailing through the posts. It's another 2 points for New Zealand as they are beginning to put Namibia to the sword. 38 points to 3, and we're not at half-time yet.
And about 3 minutes ago, the score was 24-3. They've scored 2 tries in the space of that time, so they need to get this kickoff right. The last kickoff went dead over the dead ball line. They come back for a scrum. From the scrum, they score. This kickoff, much better.
The kickoff from Swanepoel comes down 5 metres from the New Zealand try line, kicked away, out into touch. And the referee blows the whistle to bring the first half to a close. So, in style from New Zealand, this is the way to respond. Having lost their opening game last week, they have run in 6 tries in 40 minutes in Toulouse. They want to follow the example of South Africa 4 years ago, who lost their opening pool game but went on to win the World Cup. New Zealand playing like a team with a point to prove, and they will look to increase the scoreline into the second half. And the break for now, New Zealand 38, Namibia 3. They wanted a performance, Tulson, and Ian Foster's got that performance so far.
Yeah, led by his 9 and 10 as well. Cam Roigard and Damien McKenzie have been very good. Roigard with those couple of early tries, and McKenzie, with the ball in hand, he's been lightning on his feet, off his left, off his right, and they've been putting some wonderful kicks across to the wings as well. They've found space out there. They know that the Namibians have been trying to compact their defence and come in, so they've looked out wide to try and spread them out somewhat. So for New Zealand in the second half, it's a case of, as you were, they have to just continue doing what they're doing. They're much stronger in the lineouts. They're much stronger in the scrums. We've seen that with their scrummaging and with their lineout ball when they get those mauls going. For Namibia, simple. Fix your defence close to the ruck. When we saw one of the tries when it was the number 6 for them, Vian Conradi, who just didn't get off the scrum quick enough. And so from there, Roygaard got away. Damien Stevens dipped out, didn't have that defence on the inside. No communication. The same when they've been going 2 or 3 passes wide for Namibia. Need to work on that. If you're going to go up quick, you've all got to go up together. You have to do it that way and then work on the basics and hope you get yourself back into the game. But take a chance every now and then. Quick line out. Take the ball. Put the ball down the other end if you have to. Give yourself a chance.
Our thoughts with LaRue Mallon, who went off injured, stretchered off during that first half. He was given excellent medical attention at the time. He raised his right hand as a signal to the crowd to let them know that he was okay as he left the field. That was unsettling for Namibia on a night when it's always felt they would be lambs to the slaughter. They'll have sat in their hotel and watched the opening defeat when New Zealand lost to France, and they thought, oh, jeepers, this is going to make an already difficult task even harder.
Yeah, and you've also got that hanging over them. They played 23 World Cup matches in the Rugby World Cup, I think it is, and they've never won a game. And then you're coming up against New Zealand going, well, this could be difficult. Now, let's not tell fibs about this. In the back of their mind, they're knowing some of them are part-timers. In the back of their mind, they're thinking they're coming up against these guys who have won Rugby World Cups before, who have won Super Rugby tournaments, who have won pretty much everything there is going. So they're up against guys who are experienced, who know how to bounce back from their disappointment of losing against France last week. Very hard, psychologically, emotionally and physically, to get yourself up when you've just played against Italy last week and you've come up with a good performance, but it still wasn't enough. And then you're going, well, hang on, now we've got to play against New Zealand, who are one of those iconic sides in world sport, not just in rugby, but in world sport. So you then need to come up with something. And then all of a sudden you lose a player during the first half, you give away a couple of quick tries, the rain starts bucketing down, the conditions are very difficult to play in, and you've got to try and pick yourselves up for another 40 minutes in the second half. They are capable of doing it. They've got some very good players out there. They've got some great leaders, but they're going to have to try and throw a bit of caution to the wind when they can. And I go back to that far side there when Swanepoel could have taken a quick line out. They could have put New Zealand under a bit of pressure. You have to come up with things they don't think you're going to do. If you go with the stock standard and just do and play into their hands, you won't come up with a try. You won't come up with the points. And I can guarantee you, Connor, that if Namibia come up with a try in this game, it will get their biggest cheer of the evening. No doubt.
We will find out in the second half if Namibia can do that. I'm just seeing on our monitors over the break here in the stadium in Toulouse, they're showing slow motion replays of all the tries. The Leicester Fainanuku try, when he barreled his way past 3 opponents, the ball was actually knocked out of his grasp, but wonderful reactions from the wing to regather the ball before it was dropped, so there's no knock on. That was a wonderful piece of skill on a wet ball from him. Half time in Toulouse, it is New Zealand 38, Namibia 3. Chance to look ahead to what's coming up tomorrow. It starts in Bordeaux at 3 o'clock French local time kickoff. Samoa against Chile, that is in Pool D. Then at 5:45 p.m. local time in Nice, Wales take on Portugal in Group C. And later on tomorrow evening, 9 o'clock French time, Ireland against Tonga in Nantes, and that is in Pool B, that very competitive group which also contains the Springboks and Scotland. Don't forget, you can get involved in the conversation on social media using hashtag RWC2023 Rugby World Cup 2023. Remember to give us a follow on the official tournament social channels. You'll find us at Rugby World Cup across all major platforms. And Rugby Pass TV is the exclusive home of Rugby World Cup 2023 extended highlights you can watch online at rugbypass.tv, or you can download the RPTV app. Now, these two sides, as we have mentioned a few times in that first half, did meet in the pool stage 4 years ago in Japan in 2019. It ended with a thoroughly convincing win for the All Blacks, but the real highlight would be the Kiwis' 12th and final try of the game, created and finished by scrum half turned winger that day, TJ Paranara. He's been reliving that try with a key component in the build-up, Brad Weber.
Possession outside the New Zealand 22. Ben Smith at first receiver. Lynette Brown.
From memory, pretty sure we set a ruck in the middle of the field, and I just see an opportunity. I'm up against a loose forward, I'm pretty sure it is, and I see an opportunity to have a go on him, and I make a step. Now I'm looking for the speed because I'm not the fastest dude on the field, but we've got some pretty quick dudes in our team, and I see George Bridge, who's playing left wing at the time, and I try and beat the next defender as well.
Paranara. Oh, that's a fabulous step. out on the far wing into almost Namibia's 22 there, the first tackle.
And end up sort of falling over and throw a pass to Bridgie, and then he creates another ruck. And because I'm a 9, I'm used to going to the ruck. So I ran to the ruck, but then Webby's there as well, who's playing 9, I'm playing 10. But Rico's also there, and Rico's actually the one who picks the ball up, and he offloads the ball to Webby, and then I see like an opportunity just to track off Webby. Like, Webby's a quick dude, but there's defenders in front of him, and so I try and get to the space close to the sideline, and I'm just asking for a normal pass from Webby, and then I see Webby like pretend he's going into contact and then flick the ball behind his back, and it's an awesome pass, and it ends up landing. So I just back myself to go on the outside, and I just try and get the ball down.
They're still going. The continuity here is sublime. Can they finish it with Perenara? He thinks he might be in. It was a one-handed finish, but he's not sure. It'll go to the TMO.
This is the angle. Just see, it's not in touch, not in touch, not in touch. Oh. Try awarded. TJ Perenara will be very, very happy with that one.
Go and get yourself some popcorn and a drink. It's the kind of rugby you just put your feet up to and would watch all day, because that was just unbelievable hands from the All Blacks, and the finish from Perenara was top-notch.
This is Harlem Globetrotter stuff from Weber.
We're running to talk about that try that if our roles were switched, you probably go under the sticks and it doesn't get World Cup or the try of the year anyway, bro. So what were you thinking when you threw the pass out the back?
I wasn't really thinking, I just like blacked out. Yeah. It just sort of happened because like I don't have a lot of razzle, if I'm honest. So I just remember like I could hear you, but I couldn't see you anywhere. So I was like, where is this guy?
Yeah.
And then realised that you were staying there. So I was like, oh, the only way I could get it to you was by doing that.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh, please finish this. Like, seeing you actually score on the corner, I was just like, wow, what a freak. 2 things I remember mostly about that is, one, I remember afterwards being real sheepish, like going back into the sheds, because I thought Shag would be like, well, there's no, you shouldn't be doing any flashy stuff like that out there.
Like your
normally,
pass,
I was like keeping my head down, like he's gonna grill me for it. But then I seen later that he was like stoked as about it, so I was like, oh god, like genuine relief. But then the other thing I thought was like during the week, I think when we were training, you and Reeks, and it might have been like Sevu.
That was Geordie, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Was it Geordie? Practicing those like NRL style finishes in the corner.
Yeah.
I remember like talking to George Bridge and being like, look at these clowns, especially you. Like, what's TJ doing over there? We could understand Geordie and Reeks.
Brilliant work from this, I don't know what to call him, whether he's a substitute scrum half, outside half. TJ Perenara, it's an electric play from that man.
Perenara finishing what he started with a little bit of help from Brad Weber.
And fair play to you, bro. Where have you got the trophy?
It's not on display anyway. I wanted to win the World Cup, right? Like winning the World Cup. So even getting that award at that ceremony was like a little bit bittersweet. Like I've gone up there and scored a cool try. And there's South Africa over there, like celebrating they won the whole World Cup. Yeah, it didn't quite feel the same, you know?
Yeah.
Sweet brother. See my love to the family.
You too, man.
Brad Weber and I have played a lot of age group rugby with and against each other. So to be able to share this journey and to, I guess, score a try that he had such a massive impact in is pretty cool. He's a person I hold in a really high regard as well, not just for what he does on the field, but the man that he is off the field as well. So to be able to share that friendship and that work relationship together has been cool.
What a finish from TJ Perenara.
Brad Weber and TJ Perenara looking back on a famous All Black victory in the past. Here in Toulouse, New Zealand hoping to wrap up a comprehensive win against Namibia. Half-time, New Zealand lead by 38 points to 3. 6 tries run in, and a huge task for Namibia now to try and keep this score down in the second period. Just looking at some of the stats over half-time, 31 rucks won by the All Blacks, 60 carries, and there were 23 missed tackles by Namibia. Tulson Tollett's alongside me. That's the sort of pressure the African nation have had to deal with.
Absolutely, and that's the problem that gets compounded. When you miss the tackles, you're missing one. Someone else is either missing one or having to make one, and all of a sudden you're expending energy on things that you really shouldn't be expending energy on. You make those first up tackles, and if you've got the opportunity, you can drive those players backwards and try and force a turnover yourself. But it's just been a little bit lame, is probably for want of a better word, by the Namibian team. They haven't had that power in their tackles. Each time they've been making a tackle, the player's been getting over the gain line. They've been going again, and New Zealand have been dragging them far and wide. They've been going out to the wings with kicks. They've been throwing long balls out to the wings. And the defensive line in the midfield for Namibia especially just hasn't been at the standard they have to be at. They need to communicate more. The issue comes is that what they want to do is they want to get up quick and they want to stop the ball from going wide. So what New Zealand are then doing is they're kicking the ball in behind. And then they're causing concern for Namibia, because then they're not sure whether they're going to go behind, wide, or they're going to keep the ball. So then they're at 6s and 7s there. But the communications aspect of it has to be much better when it comes to defence there, and especially around the breakdown as well. If you're going to move, you've got to tell someone you're moving. You've got people to go with you, a bit like a big long piece of rope that works in tandem with each other as it goes along.
Right, half-time has flown by. Both sets of players are making their way back out onto the pitch ahead of the second period in Toulouse. A reminder, you can listen globally via rugbyworldcup.com to commentary from every game at this Rugby World Cup 2023 in France. You can hear those commentaries on the Rugby World Cup app as well. It's within the match centre of the app, and also every game available to listen to on radio, BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC 5 Sports Extra across the tournament for listeners in the UK. So the players are back out for the second half. Looks like there's some changes being made in personnel as well. We'll confirm those for you just a moment. But it will be Namibia to get this second half started. Tian Swanepoel will stand with the ball on the halfway line. The fly half who sent one kick between the posts for Namibia. That's got them the 3 points that are on the board, but they've conceded 38 thanks to 6 unanswered tries from New Zealand. So mercifully the rain has halted. The wind seems to have died down a little bit too. Namibia will hope that the All Black storm they've been facing might be abating just a little bit as well. Namibia, who held more territory than Italy last weekend, but the Italians did have more possession overall. This was always going to be a more difficult contest for them tonight. Full house in Toulouse, this stadium that could hold 33,000 people. It's the 9th time a Rugby World Cup game has been held here, and the crowd expectant from what they hope will be plenty more tries to savour in this second period. Referee Luke Pearce just waiting for the signal to restart this game. Namibia, who forced a few turnovers against Italy, they won a few penalties, but it's been very difficult to replicate that against the world famous All Blacks. We're back underway. Swanepoel's kick comes down inside the New Zealand 22. It was caught by Lester Fayananuku, one of the try scorers in the first half. Played back to Brodie Retallick. Bulldozes his way up to the edge of the 22. And then the kick away by Beauden Barrett will stay in play. And it's been caught by Swanepoel 10 metres inside Namibian territory. He throws in field to Clive and Loopson. No, lovely dancing feet from him to elude a tackle and to get over the halfway line up to 10 metres inside New Zealand territory. Namibia would love a bright start to this second period. They have an advantage. Swanepoel is tackled, and that advantage will be activated. Penalty to Namibia. Tulson Tullett.
Much better start, much better feet from Clive and Lubza, and players getting to him quickly. They roll on again, and they get the penalty. They've now got to put the ball out and come up with a simple play when it comes to the line-out. Trying to go to the back hasn't worked for them. Go to the front, secure the ball, and play on from there is what plan that I suspect Alistair Kurtia might have been saying to them at half-time.
The kick to the corner is good from Swanepoel. Namibia will move into the All Blacks 22. 2 tries in the first half for Cam Roygaard, 2 for Damien McKenzie, 1 for Fayananuku, 1 for Anton Leonard-Brown. One of the pick of the tries. He kicked ahead twice for himself to chase after it. He touched it down for the try. That was the 6th of the 6 tries of the first half. Line out for Namibia. Thorsten van Jaarsveld to the front of the line, and it's 1. Now, can they get a bit of forward propulsion? The encouragement is roared on by the French spectators in the crowd. It's there for Damien Stevens, the scrum half for Namibia. Throws it out to Johan Desel. He's held up in heavy traffic in the midfield. New Zealand trying to force a choke tackle. Dalton Papali unable to hold it up fully though. And it comes back to the big number 7, Prince Goeseb. This is still inside New Zealand's 22. Thorsten van Jaarsveld takes it forward. Centre of the pitch for Namibia. The big prop Coetzee throws his body into a challenge, but it's like hitting a brick wall. There's no gain to be made there. Possession still for Namibia. They recycle it back and they get a penalty. Penalty Namibia in front of the post.
It's a good penalty to get because Johan Coetzee was actually isolated and I thought he was going to be turned over and the ball pinched there, but they managed to get there and get there quick enough to recycle the ball. There was a couple of times there where I thought, oh, do you know what? I think they might be in a bit of trouble here and isolated. They're now going to go to the far corner through Swanepoel and go from a line out there, but much simpler line out. They just did a moment or two ago. Not the greatest kick from Swanepoel, but they'll still have the ball. Remember, in that first half, they lost 3 line-outs and they won 4. So it tells you a story about what they've got to do. They went to the front in the last one. I suspect they'll be doing something similar in this one as well.
So Swanepoel from a central location had a relatively tight angle to try and kick it into the corner. He ended up putting it pretty much laterally straight out of play. So this is closer to the edge of the 22 than it is to the try line. It is still an attacking line out for Namibia. Van Jaarsveld's been handed a towel again. He dries the ball, holds it above his head and throws it short to the front where Swanepoel had joined the line, but it's all illegal. Not a good line out throw. They tried to be clever. It hasn't worked for Namibia. Scrum to the All Blacks.
Look, I don't mind that. I don't have the problem with that. Terrible line out. It was good. It was probably the worst, the most crooked line out I think I've ever seen. The way the ball was thrown, couldn't have been thrown any straighter to his own player. But I've got no problem with that. I know what they were trying to do. Quick one there. It was supposed to go back to him as well, to Van Jaarsveld. So they tried to do something a little bit different and work it down that short side. Unfortunately, it didn't work. If you're in that position, that's okay. But they've got to try those different things.
Scrum to New Zealand. 15 metres out for the try line they defend.
Crouch! Bind!
Cam Roygaard, the scrum half who scored 2 tries in the first half to put it in. Better hold that time from Namibia. Then the front rows collapse. Penalty New Zealand. They held it for about 6 seconds.
Well, in fairness, they've gone 5 minutes so far, looking pretty good, and most of the players actually been down inside the New Zealand end of the pitch, so they've actually worked very hard in this opening 5 minutes. 5 minutes at a time, look at the next 5, they can get to the 50-minute mark and they haven't conceded anything else, then they're much better. They're not back in the game as such, but they're looking in a much better position.
Namibia, who were beaten by Italy in their opening game in this pool. New Zealand, who lost to France. Both sides looking for their first win of this World Cup. New Zealand with a 38-3 dominant lead so far. We've played 5 minutes in the second period. New Zealand being urged to use it now, and Roygaard delivers it out into the backs. Good work by Damien McKenzie. Bowden Barrett to Caleb Clark, who steps down on the accelerator and goes way over the halfway line, eventually stopped between the 10-metre line and the Namibian 22, but it's recycled quickly. Roygaard back to McKenzie, into the hands of Luke Jacobson. He sends it out quickly, and David Havili has got support. That might have been forward off Laula, and it will have been spotted by the officials. Ball has gone out of play on the far side. That did look like a very forward throw.
Yeah, went forward. He's given them the option here of the scrum or the line out. They've gone for the line out, which is fair enough. But at the risk of sounding like a broken record, they've done it again in Namibia. When the ball's gone out wide, it was JC Kailing he's come up he's come out so quick on the outside that he's then had to stand there and plant his feet because he doesn't know what to do because there's no one else around him. And then all of a sudden you're in trouble. And defensive line, they've come down this near side and they've found that space again.
Namibian line out, midway inside their own half. 46 minutes on the game clock. It's thrown and it's lost. Chewy Uanibi was the target, but New Zealand are so good at that. They picked the pocket at the line out, and now they're attacking the Namibian 22. David Avili kicks ahead, bounces up nicely for Caleb Clark, stumbles to the ground, tries to push on a second time, and he's been brought to a halt, foot and touch, as he tried to desperately stretch for the corner. New Zealand almost in for a 7th try of the night.
Yeah, he tried. You see what he tried to do. As he moved his legs back around to try and whip the ball back inside. Unfortunately, the touchline is just a little bit too tight to where he is as he tries to twist and cajole his body into a position to put it back on his side, and out it goes. So Namibia, you'd like to say that they've got the ball, but they're in a pretty bad position, and it is. We're waiting injury to Vian Conradi at the moment, who is in back play, just getting a bit of attention. Referee Luke Pearce has gone over just to make sure he's okay. So a small breather for the Namibians, but they're going to be straight back into it because they're in a position 5 metres out from their line, and New Zealand are readying the substitutions to come on, so it's not going to get much easier for Namibia.
New Zealand lead 38 points to 3. Caleb Clark there, who made the surge towards the corner. It's his 19th cap tonight. He needs one more try to equal his father Eroni's test record for the All Blacks. His dad scored 6 tries in the 90s, never played in a Rugby World Cup, and Caleb Clark for the moment remains on 5 tries in black. Kick away by Swanepoel, which was so close to being charged down. I mean, that's stuff of nightmares. They're Whitelake and Retallick both sprinting at him and coming within a whisker, but he does just about get the kick away. Line out edge of the 22.
Well, you mentioned that stuff of nightmares there with the kick. The throw-in, there was a wonderful take from Conradi, who was down injured just a moment or two ago, but the ball went to him. He picked it up almost off his bootlaces in wonderful fashion, and then from there they had the opportunity to put the ball out. New Zealand now with the line-out throw, and they're taking it inside the Namibian 22.
And they have got a bit of forward rumble. They've made up 10, 12 metres already. Make that 15. There's an advantage coming the All Blacks' way. Looking for their 7th try of the night. Here is the captain, Ardi Savea, and in the corner, it's a try. New Zealand get their first try of the second half, and Ethan de Groot, who's just had his first touch of the ball, having come on as a replacement, scores the try. He's only been on the field a matter of seconds.
I don't think he's even been on the field 30 seconds when he scored that try. Well, there's an entrance, isn't it? The big man comes on. You're in the front row, and all of a sudden you're the recipient of the ball going back down the short side. It was a wonderful take at the top there by Brodie Retallick, and then from there they rolled it forward. They got that penalty advantage, and then back down the short side, and de Groot just ran across Rousseau, who did his best to try and keep him out, but it wasn't to be. And another try for New Zealand, surprisingly their first of the second half.
Yeah. 40 points between the teams now. New Zealand 43, Namibia 3. Damien McKenzie with one of his most difficult attempts of the night. This is wide out on the right hand side. It's only about a pace and a half in from the touchline. Bends forward. He's got a smile on his face as he looks at this, Damien McKenzie. He oozes positivity as he sends the kick right-footed but wide. It sails to the right hand side of the target. That was a tester. The scoreline remains 43 points to 3 in Toulouse. 7 tries racked up by New Zealand. The previous 2 times these sides have met at Rugby World Cups, New Zealand have averaged 10 tries per game in those 2 meetings in the past. Change in the front row for Namibia, and Louis van der Westhuizen has come on as a replacement hooker for Torsten van Jaarsveld.
Well, I think Namibia have actually been good value in this opening 10 minutes of the second half. They've looked a lot stronger, they've done things a lot better. There's still a few mistakes that they're making, but they've done the simple things like the line out. They've made the hold onto the ball, they've put themselves in a decent position to try and keep hold of possession, and that is part of the reason why New Zealand have taken almost 10 minutes to score their first points of the second half.
BJ Van Lille has come on, Pieter Jan Van Lille. He turns 40 in December. This is his 63rd cap, but he's on the field against the All Blacks here in Toulouse. As Cam Roygaard kicks away from inside the All Black 22. The ball bounces off the chest of Clive and Loopser as he tries to control it right up against the touchline. Or was it Gerson Mouton actually? Just fumbled out of his hands. And that goes out for a line out to New Zealand, bang on the halfway line. They take it quickly. Tukeaho's throw received by Brodie Retallick. New Zealand already up over the halfway line as Roygaard throws to his right-hand side to Luke Jacobson. Quickly recycled back again. Tukeaho out through Leonard Brown to Caleb Clark. Kicks along the ground. Nearly fell for Damien McKenzie. Good defending by JC Greling, who's able to get back for Namibia. And then over-enthusiastic from the breakdown from New Zealand. Penalty to Namibia inside their own 22.
A couple of players going straight off their feet there. But it could be a bit of a silver lining here for Namibia, because when a team makes a lot of changes, it can sometimes throw the rhythm of how they're performing. And they did perform extremely well in that first half, the All Blacks. But sometimes when you start making changes and you are that far ahead, the concentration can wane. Players try and do certain things that maybe don't work. So more changes coming on now. They've had another change down there on the touchline. I think it's the replacement hooker who's coming on. Dane Coles has actually come onto the pitch down there for New Zealand. So you make changes, all of a sudden you might lose a bit of that cohesion. So from a Namibian point of view, it might actually work in their favour.
Dane Coles, who turns 37 in December, comes on. He's a very popular figure with All Blacks fans.
Rather than your hooker, okay? So let's just get on with the game, please.
Line out to Namibia.
Let's go.
Luke Pearce instructing the players to look at the hooker, who is Louis van Bevestesen. Shortened line out, thrown and taken by Uenibi. And the offload was well timed to Divin Russo, but he's greeted by a thumping challenge. There's a knock on by Namibia and a scrum to New Zealand, and it is proving difficult for Namibia now. They have given it everything in this second half, but they are up against a quality opponent here. New Zealand leading Namibia by 43 points to 3.
Just differences in execution. The ball comes down, then there's two players. It's a 2-on-1 situation. But when you're in a 2-on-1 situation, the second player has to move further out and hug that touchline, and then all of a sudden you're away. New Zealand have done that. We've seen them do that. We've seen them score tries from that. We've seen them just a moment or two ago when they came down this far side here, and Caleb Clark made a break down the touchline. Namibia need to just make sure they communicate, and if you see someone with the ball and there's a 2-on-1, you've got to drift out. You've got to find some space to run into. It's no point standing next to your player and running straight into the same player who's going to tackle that one.
Okay, it's an all-new New Zealand front row for this scrum. The put in by Cam Roygaard and his first ever start for the All Blacks. He scored 2 tries in this game. New Zealand pushing it forward. Namibia swiveling around over the 45 degrees, and that's the advantage to New Zealand as they surge deeper into Namibian territory. Havili throws out through Leonard Brown. Now Bowden Barrett has skipped through the tackle. He's into the 22. Faianga gets to within 7 metres and eventually is stopped close to the line. Quickly recycled by the All Blacks. Dalton Papali'i will go in underneath the post. Try number 8 for New Zealand tonight in Toulouse. They are putting Namibia to the sword. They bounce back from the opening defeat in Paris to the French hosts. New Zealand look back in business, 48 points to 3. If they get this conversion, they'll be up to the half century.
And I would suspect that McKenzie will get this conversion being right in front, but it was a wonderful piece of work first up by Ardie Savea, the captain, who just took the ball on. They had that penalty advantage, but it's the execution and the way they do things. They get the ball out wide, they have those numbers, and then it looked as if Faianga was going to get across, but then the ball gets recycled again, back inside, and possibly the easiest try he'll ever score, Dalton Papali'i. He had to go through one defender, but there's just strength in numbers that they have there, and there's always someone they get into the breakdown. They're quick at doing things.
Well, Dalton Papali'i's try is converted by Damien McKenzie. This was a regulation kick in front of the post. New Zealand up to 50 points now tonight. And you wouldn't imagine there'll be any let-up in the time remaining in the game. They've got their foot on the gas now, New Zealand. And this is going to be a test of the strength and the resilience of Namibia to try and hang on. New Zealand 50, Namibia 3. The bonus point was already secured in the first half. Restart from Tian Swanepoel, lands inside the New Zealand 22. Lester Fayananuku is able to present it back, receiving a big hit, but he didn't fumble the ball. Nice sidestep from McKenzie. He runs into Chewy Uenibi. New Zealand just been held here 10 metres from their own line. Roygaard has a look, sends it back to Barrett, and the right foot of Beauden Barrett finds his touch. Line out to Namibia 10 metres inside their opponent's half.
That tackle from Chewy Uenibi, what he's done though is he's worked on the inside. So he hasn't stopped working. He's come across and covered the inside. He did wrap the arm around. It was a wonderful little tackle. But they've kept on working for each other. So they've got to keep on doing things like that. Keep things simple. Get yourself into a position to do those type of things. And look where they've got the ball now. All of a sudden, a couple of really good tackles. They forced New Zealand to kick the ball. They kicked the ball out of play instead of keeping it in. And they're 38 metres away from the New Zealand line with the line out.
Namibia need to win this one. It's thrown to the front of the line, and it has been won. Van der Westhuizen gathers again, the replacement hooker. Presents it back for Damian Stevens. He throws to his right-hand side to PJ Van Lille. Penalty, though, to New Zealand. And Van Lille is penalised.
Number 4, off feet.
Johan Retief off his feet. And that is a penalty for New Zealand, a chance to kick back into Namibian territory. Beauden Barrett makes it look easy, kicks into the 22 from well inside his own half.
Doesn't get any easier either. His brother Scott's about to come onto the pitch as well, who's a bit of a hulking man to run into the Namibians, so they'll be unhappy with that happening, I'm sure. But there's a thing you have to do in sport, and you'll hear this saying all the time as Brady Retallick comes off the field. You'll hear in sport, trust the process. And that's exactly what Namibia need to do. Just trust the process of what you're doing. Stick to it. Yes, they'll be fatigued, but they've got to just keep on doing the same thing and be repetitive in the way they do it.
Scott Barrett on for his 64th cap for his country. Just finished his 4th season as the captain of Crusaders. Brodie Retallick wrapped up in cotton wool ahead of other big battles to come down the road. New Zealand back in scoring territory. 15 metres out, under the post. Roygaard tries a sidestep, pops it to his left, and they're over. David Havili's try. The tries just keep flowing for the All Blacks. 55 points to 3 now with the conversion to come. And this is relentless now in Toulouse.
Well, Havili was denied a try in the first half when he grounded the ball just short of the line and then knocked it forward. But he gets his 5-pointer here, and McKenzie will surely add the extras, and New Zealand will blow out to a score of 57 points to 3. But they had the penalty advantage, but the wonderful feat from Roygaard, just getting on the outside and then finding Havili, who just cruises across the line, and McKenzie puts the extras over.
Yeah, no problem with the extra 2 points. New Zealand move up to 57. 57 points to 3 the score in Toulouse. David Havili continuing what is a remarkable try-scoring record for the All Blacks. He averages a try every 3 games. That's 9 tries now in 27 caps. That's some going for a centre.
I'd like to say I average a birdie every 3 or 4 holes, but that doesn't happen. Some record though, isn't it? Unbelievable in playing in such a good team to be able to do that. And you're not playing against mugs either when you come up against the majority of teams that he plays against. So quite some effort from Havili, and the bench is now all getting a go. They're all getting a chance to get on there and strut their stuff.
Change at number 8 for Namibia. Adrian Boyson has come on. He plays his club rugby in the USA in Dallas. He's replaced Richard Hardwick, the former Wallaby player. 2 caps for Australia in the past. He has made way here with the clock just about to hit the hour mark. Kick from deep from Namibia will find its touch 10 metres inside the Namibian half. And it is a line out. Dane Cole's getting ready to take it. More changes coming on. Richie Mo'unga will replace Beauden Barrett. Some of the big names now being rested as New Zealand look down the line.
Yeah, big games to come. Of course, they've already played France in this group. They've got Italy to play as well, which is will be a testing match. So it's a case of getting everyone some game time as well. You have to get your squad some game time and get some physical work in out there.
So Richie Mo'unga, who has come on to replace Barrett but will play in the fly half position. Quickly into the thick of things, throwing it out to his left-hand side to Lester Fayanunuku.
Okay, tackle.
Possession round about the halfway line. Left-hand side of the pitch as New Zealand come forward. Very nice hands from Scott Barrett there. Ball did drop on the ground.
Side entry 19.
But that wasn't a knock-on, it was the side entry. That was the problem. Scott Barrett. And that is a penalty to Namibia, bang on the halfway line. Tulsa Tullett.
Well, World Rugby have said that they're going to really clamp down on players coming in from the side. They want players coming in at that 45-degree angle from the back. If you come in from too close to that 90-degree angle, you will be penalised, and that's exactly what happened then. I'll give you one discernible difference between these two teams and something that's happening as well. New Zealand, when they get an opportunity to kick the ball, they consciously keep the ball in play because they know that Namibia are either going to kick the ball out or they're going to come up with a mistake, whereas Namibia are always trying to put the ball out of play to give themselves a breather.
The Namibian penalty kick is into the corner from Swanepoel. Line out 10 metres from the try line. An expectancy amongst the crowd.
Wouldn't it be something if they got across the line? They're already building now, the crowd. They want something. They want to see a Namibian try.
In terms of expectations, getting a try would be a victory in itself for Namibia. They trail 57 points to 3. They need a huge push here. 15 metres out for the try line. They're straining every sinew. The All Blacks refusing to budge. Needs to come out now. Damian Stevens, head heavily bandaged, throws to Johan Deysel. He presents it back quickly. PJ Van Lille. He makes up a few hard yards. There's an advantage coming Namibia's way here. 7 metres now from the touchline. Van der Westhuizen. Can Namibia get what would be a famous try in Toulouse? Swanepoel swings it out. Step back in field. Referee's whistle blows. Advantage is activated. Namibia had passed forward. It'll come back for the earlier infringement. This is only 5 metres from the try line.
Tap and go. You might as well, because they've got the ball there. They're going to be in the same situation. Give yourself a chance there. They're going to go to the corner. Tricky little kick, this one. They've done it, 5 metres out. They're going to have to take it in the front again, but they're not going to get over the line doing that against New Zealand. You're going to have to take it 1 or 2 passes wide. But what they've got to do is get there in numbers when they do that, because New Zealand jackal ever so well, and they get there quick, and they get players around that breakdown. That's what Namibia have to do. Get players there if you go 1 or 2 wide, draw players away, and maybe look at a player coming back on the inside to try and catch someone who's not working across.
Change in the back row for New Zealand. Tupu Vai is on. He's replaced the captain, Ardi Savea. Line out for Namibia. Can they get what would be a crowd-pleasing try here in Toulouse? Chui Uanibi wins the line out. Again, they tried to get the All Blacks to budge. It's like running into a brick wall. The backs come in to join the forwards. New Zealand add extra defensive ballast too. And Namibia just can't get closer to that try line. New Zealand force them out towards the touchline. Now there's a surge. Ball drops from Deysel's arms. It's a knock-on. It's advantage to the All Blacks, who will look to run it from deep. There's the call from the referee, Luke Pearce, to say advantage over, as it's kicked and bounces and finds its touch. And from bearing down on the try line, Namibia found themselves back at the halfway line once again. Johan Deysel, who scored that historic, iconic try for Namibia in 2015 against the All Blacks. He came close, but he dropped it, and New Zealand survived.
Richie Mo'unga was managing to actually just reef the ball out of his hands as he got there. So it was a wonderful tackle from Mo'unga, who tried to do that. But Deysel there, you thought he was going to get there or get close to the line and they were going to push again. But he just couldn't hold on to it, knock on, and then there was some trouble there. If that ball was kept in from New Zealand, it was Mackenzie, I think, who was roaring down on top of it. There were a few Namibians around, but we may have seen it go from one end of the field to the other.
Okay. We've got a lot of in and out. Just make the numbers clear at the line out, please. Okay.
Luke Pearce just getting his line out mathematics correct. It's not going to change the overall outcome tonight, but Namibia, of course, would love a try. You feel just as rigid in that thought, though, on New Zealand. They would love to keep a clean sheet in terms of tries tonight as they look to bounce back from their opening defeat last week. The line-out throw is over-delivered by Louis van der Westhuizen. Spills over everyone. Somehow Namibia managed to hold on to the ball. They have it on the halfway line. Damian Stevens will kick himself high swirling into the 22, caught under pressure by Richie Mo'unga, who calls his mark.
Do you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see him take it a couple wide, to put a little chip kick over the top, just to test out New Zealand defence, and the All Blacks have put the ball down. It's an offside penalty. It will be a Namibia ball, and they're taking a quick tap. Good to see.
And a tap and go, and a nice side step too. Namibia get to within 10 metres. However, penalty to the All Blacks. Just as the door of opportunity opened, New Zealand shut it closed again.
Oh, Connor, I've been screaming for it all night. Take that quick tap, have a go at them. They do that. It doesn't even get through one phase, and all of a sudden, it's a penalty for New Zealand instead. Disappointing there, but I'd like to see, just going back to what I'm talking about, I'd like to see Namibia just try and put a little kick in over the top. Just test out that defence there to see if in future New Zealand might hang back a little bit because they're expecting it again. Just try different things. You might as well throw absolutely everything at them and do things differently every single time. See what will work and what won't.
Tupuvai, the Chiefs lot, did very well there at the breakdown. New Zealand make a change at scrum half. They bring on Aaron Smith, but a very satisfactory starting debut for the All Blacks from Cam Roygaard. He made a few brief appearances off the bench of the past, but he has certainly raised his hand to get into contention later on in the tournament. Cam Roygaard doing very well from scrum half from the start tonight, but this is not going to make the task any easier from Namibia now. A world-class operator in Aaron Smith has come on to dictate things in the half-back positions along with Richie Mo'unga, who kicks here into the 22. The chase is on, bounces up. Caleb Clark is over the line, and it's another New Zealand try. Quick thinking, skillful execution, ruthless from New Zealand, and they now lead 62 points to 3 with another 2 on offer for the conversion in a moment.
I think it was Havili on the far side who made the initial breakthrough there, but Mo'unga, gee, he's a good operator. He just has a look. He's got time, he's got space, and he looks out wide and he goes, there he is. There's Caleb Clark out there. I'll have a look for him. The ball bounces up absolutely beautifully before he gets tackled, gets the kick away, and Clark takes the defender over the line in Laubza, but too little, too late. Just a wonderful show of time and sense of knowing exactly what he can do from Richie Mo'unga.
So New Zealand, who've never failed to top their pool at a Rugby World Cup, all 9 tournaments up until now, the All Blacks have always finished on top of their group, and they are hoping to bounce back after last week's defeat in Paris, and they're certainly putting on a display here. This to make it 64-3, but it's not easy for McKenzie, wide out on the right-hand side. Last one from this angle, he hooked to the right-hand side into the final 12 seconds of the shot clock, and here it comes, and this one looks good. Excellent kick from Damien McKenzie, who's had a good night. He puts it between the posts with Mo'unga looking on, McKenzie holding on to the kicking duties, but it was Mo'unga who set up that try. His kick ahead, very, very impressive. And those who've come off the bench from New Zealand tonight have played their part too.
Something which will hurt you. 776 metres made by the All Blacks compared to 188 made by Namibia. And then you also look at the tackles missed, 36 against 9, and 89 tackles made compared to 46. That hurts you at the back end of a game.
New Zealand gathered possession with Sam Whitelock taken into contact on the edge of their own 22. Aaron Smith pops it back to Mo'unga. His kick comes forward, and it's caught on the halfway line by Tian Swanepoel, the Namibian fly half, but he can't hold on to possession. Turnover for New Zealand. Kick ahead by Damien McKenzie, bouncing dangerously inside the 22, but through, over the try line, through the dead ball zone and out, and that will come all the way back. A kick that had too much on it from Damien McKenzie, who's hardly put a foot wrong in the game.
Great example then of how many players New Zealand do get to the breakdown. The ball's taken down by Namibia. They try and get 1 or 2 players there. There must have been about 4, 5 or 6 players who came storming through that ruck, and they forced a turnover which led to that kick that went downfield. Now it didn't work out for New Zealand there, but they're putting bodies in motion, they're putting players in positions to attack the ball and to force those turnovers, and that's been a key aspect of this game. They've only won 3 turnovers compared to 1, but they've always been there in a position to try and win it or to try and make sure they could retain possession themselves.
Change in the back row for Namibia. Max Kachieko has come on in place of Prince Goseb as open side flanker. Damian Stevens prepares to put the ball into this scrum between the halfway line and the 10-metre line in New Zealand territory. Namibia in white, New Zealand in their traditional all black. Here's Swanepoel down the left-hand side, runs into David Avili, who tries to hold him up. Swanepoel's done well to present it back for Damian Stevens once again. PJ Van Lille helps it on. Namibia have made it over the gain line here. Stevens tackled, crunched into by Luke Jacobson. Loses his balance, but Namibia don't lose the ball. It went backwards. Stevens is back in position to Swanepoel. Grubber kick into the 22. Russo sprinting after it. Damien McKenzie beats him. He will touch it down, and that's a drop on the goal line for New Zealand, who lead Namibia by 64 points to 3.
Right idea to try and go with the attacking kick, just with that greasy conditions. It's just gone through a little bit too far for McKenzie to touch the ball down, so New Zealand just regroup, readjust themselves, and the kick out comes now from Mwanga.
So 64-3, kicks all the way back to the halfway line. Tulson, I meant to ask you, what do you feel about, they've got the high score now, they'll hope to add to it in these final 10 minutes, but has this been good enough for you tonight for New Zealand to announce that they're back in contention?
I think they've looked spectacular this evening. They've just done the little things right. They've got a penalty there as well. Player from Namibia going across the ruck and off his feet. They've been doing the small things right. They've made sure they've contained their line out. They've got players there to the breakdown. They've been wonderful with the passing across. And we might well see a TMO decision here coming against
Ethan de Groot, who scored a try having come off the bench. We've just seen on our monitors here, he's involved in a tackle where he leads with his shoulder. The TMO, Brian McNeice, watching the images of this. Adrian Boyson was the player with ball in possession. He's nursing his shoulder after that because it was a shoulder-into-shoulder collision.
And we're rolling now, Luke.
The question is this a legal tackle?
Sorry, the one from behind is the best one to look at.
Well, it's hard to see from that whether he's wrapped his arms. The angle we're looking at now will give us a better view of how
Sorry,
we're...
just stand by, that wasn't it. Just wait.
Actually trying to see things. They're on the wrong angle at the moment, but we will see in just a moment or two time. And De Groot, for me, his right shoulder at the front
on you now.
hasn't really wrapped around.
So we do have head contact. It is foul play. The player's upright. It does reach the yellow card threshold. We refer it to off-field. Happy with that?
Yes.
So Luke Pearce is going to send Ethan de Groot to the sidelines for at least 10 minutes. They'll have a review of it, but it would seem yellow card is going to be the order of the day here for Ethan de Groot. On his 19th cap, the Highlanders prop, who scored a try within seconds of his introduction, but his tackling technique was lax there. Adrian Boyson has had to leave the field injured as a result of it, and de Groot himself leaves the field and New Zealand down to 14.
And that might make a difference when it comes to the actual decision whether it's a yellow or red, because the player has been injured from it, but I don't know if there was a high degree of danger in the actual tackle. He didn't wrap his arm around, but I don't know if there was a high degree of danger in what actually occurred.
Yeah.
But we shall see.
Head contact, but it's shoulder into head there. It means that New Zealand will finish this game with 14, because we don't have 10 full minutes left on the game clock. If you're just joining our coverage late, New Zealand 64, Namibia 3. One-way traffic in Toulouse. New Zealand flexing their muscles, doing a lot of good stuff tonight. Namibia win this line out now against 14. Can they get a coveted try that would allow them leave the field feeling very good about themselves against one of the superpowers of world rugby? Daisel tried to kick it forward, but it's been intercepted and turned over. McKenzie is going to try and catch a wayward pass. He's been put under pressure 5 metres out from his own try line. Excellent recovery from Damien McKenzie, who was so unflustered there, but then he throws it away on the edge of his 22. What was he thinking? He did so well, Mackenzie, and then he's just returned possession to the opposition. JC Hreiling tries to take it forward. Namibia still have a chance here of scoring a try against the All Blacks, which is their big target now.
This is what we like to see as the kick goes
Kick
through.
ahead, Swanepoel chases after it, Molunga comes across first, Swanepoel stretches right on the try line, the ball squirted free, advantage coming Namibia's way. It had been knocked on, I think, by Molunga, right on the try line. Referee has to look through a whole host of bodies.
Boys, time's up. It's no try because you're on the floor anyway, but it is your scrum for the knock-on.
Scrum to Namibia as the French in the crowd scream Namibia as a chant. They would love a Namibia try here. Change into the front row. Haitembu Shikufa will come on, the replacement prop in place of Orana Scotia.
This could be his time as well. On there, fresh into the scrum, all of a sudden they've got an extra player, and from here, well, they're going to have to make a change, New Zealand, as well, because
Okay, let's go.
it's a front rower who's gone off the pitch for the sin bin, so there will be a change coming back on to the
It
pitch.
means that Ofa Tuanga Fassi, who started the game in the front row, will have to be reintroduced. The Blues prop on his 55th cap comes back on, and New Zealand have to take another player off the field in order to still have 14 on it. De Groot, who is in the sin bin, and they're just confirming that Luke Jacobson will be the player who will leave the field in order to allow the prop come back on. And for some of our listeners who aren't familiar with the laws, you must have fully qualified, but you can't put anyone in the front row. They've got to be specifically trained in that position. That's why they allowed Tuanga Fassi, who had been replaced, to come back onto the field.
Always painful, though, when you're the one who gets punished and has to go off the pitch, though, so you can get one of those big fellas to come back on.
Big moment, you can hear, being picked up on the referee's mic. Namibia would take this as a victory if they could score a try. Everyone's got their own expectations. It's got to be reset.
And what they don't want to do in Namibia here is go early and get excited and give a free kick away. Hold your ground, wait for the call, and then come together and try and come up with something special. Now, they're in a wonderful position. I mentioned this about New Zealand in the first half when they had a scrum in this position. You're 5 metres out, you're right in front of the posts. You've got both ways to attack. You've got an extra player as well.
74 minutes on the game clock. New Zealand 64, Namibia 3. Bonus point was secured before half-time. No doubt about who's going to win this game. The question is, can Namibia get a try that would really be cheered by neutrals all over the globe? They come on the back, but Damian Stevens drops it. It was popped from the number 8 to the scrum half. He's knocked it forward. New Zealand have already run it way outside the 22. Advantage over as it's kicked away all the way down the other end. Was that Namibia's last chance? They will try to run it from deep. Cliven Loopser out to the left-hand side to Devan Russo. Stevens back into Desetier, the big prop. Big hit sends New Zealand propelling backwards. That's one of the few times that in contact Namibia have really got the better of the All Blacks. Kick ahead by Damian Stevens will come down near the 10-metre line inside New Zealand territory. Very well fielded by Damien McKenzie, who plays at full-back so regularly for his club and is used to defusing bombs like that. Dalton Papali'i will bring it up to the halfway line and present safe possession back for Aaron Smith. New Zealand getting back into the rhythm now, moving through the phases. 4 minutes of game time remaining in Toulouse. Into contact it goes once again with Scott Barrett, and New Zealand are looking comfortable once again. They split the backs, choose to come down the right hand side. Dane Coles presenting it back bang on the halfway line. Little sidestep by Tuanga Fassi. Now Damian Stevens through Barrett. Mo'unga drops it, but it went backwards. He was caught in the tackle. Namibia sensing a turnover, but they don't get it. Sam Whitelock on his 148th cap. This is the night he draws level with the great Richie McCaw as the most capped All Black of all time. And he's about to be involved in another New Zealand victory as they look to get back on track here at this World Cup in France. Damien McKenzie throws out to the left-hand side to Lester Fayanuku. Up to the halfway line, what an offload! That is fantastic! And now the run to the line! And it's going to be a try for Rieko Ioane on his 65th cap. The tries keep coming for New Zealand. They simply refuse to allow Namibia one down the other end. The score moves to 69-3. And it's a chance now to put that score above 70 with the conversion to come.
There's a real lesson there, isn't there, in patience about what New Zealand did. They were patient with the ball, they moved it around, but they made sure they got players there to the breakdown. They recycled possession, and then the ball goes wide. And the try is scored by New Zealand to make sure they just keep the foot on the opposition, keep the foot on them, and making sure that they come up with another try, more pressure, and more for New Zealand.
It's been announced in the stadium. Oh, Mackenzie's missed the kick. You don't see much more straightforward than that in front of the post. Damien McKenzie misses the kick, and then that's where you never give them until they're over. But it was Rieko Ioane who scored the try. They announced it has been Mwanga. Rieko Ioane's try.
I'm confused though. I thought he actually had missed the kick, but they've given him.
Well, it's one of those where you almost think, well, he's going to get that. And I wonder if the scoreboard has put that up to 71 in error. We will confirm all of this. Game has not yet restarted. That kick, certainly to my eye, looked like it had gone wide of the post.
So the bunker referrals come back. It's been upgraded to a red card.
Oh.
There's no mitigation, so that player in the bin is now a red card.
Ethan de Groot, red card, which will affect his participation in the games coming up ahead.
Time on.
De Groot in the challenge with Boyson, leading with his shoulder. No mitigation in his favour. Official scoreboard still showing 71-3, so we'll have to, for the moment, assume that is the case.
And in fairness, the angle I just saw that from them, de Groot's hit, it's not great. And he does make great contact, as in bad contact with the head, so fair enough, an upgrade.
New Zealand come forward, that's a great offload. Now propelling infield, Caleb Clark, helped out by Damien McKenzie. They want to turn the screw now, however, holding by New Zealand, penalty to Namibia, 10 metres inside their own half. And, you know, credit to the Namibians, they've been on the receiving end of a thumping here, but they battle on till the very, very end.
Yeah, they have. It's just the small things that have let them down. That's been the problem. As Cam Roygaard is announced, by the way, as the MasterCard player of the match. He had an outstanding start to the game, and he set the tone for everything that New Zealand went on with in this game. And he's had a wonderful match, taken off just 5 or 10 minutes ago, a well-deserved rest. Cameron Roygaard is the MasterCard player of the match here.
It's a night where New Zealand have got the job done. Cam Roygaard announcing himself on the world stage, his first start as an All Black. Louis van der Westhuizen will take a line out for Namibia, shortened line, and not for the first time tonight, he squirts it all the way over them. They do well to hold on to possession. PJ Van Lille dives down upon it. Back into contact from Van der Westhuizen. They battle on. There might be an opportunity here. Russo comes infield. He had Chewy Ioane outside him, but he veered back infield. Shikufa gets to within 7 metres, but it bounces away from him, and then it's dropped on the goal line, but backwards by New Zealand. The ball is kicked away. Namibia once again, and for the final time, are denied. So it ends. New Zealand 71, Namibia 3. No try for New Zealand. Johan van Dijssel came the closest, but the story tonight is the All Blacks and how they have bounced back from their opening defeat against France this night a week ago. 71-3, in any language, that's an emphatic score.
Yeah, indeed it is, and they've been well worth it, New Zealand. Sometimes you might have matches where teams win because the opposition just haven't been inept. Namibia weren't inept. They did their best with what they had. They tried their hardest. They just lacked execution at certain times, whereas the opposition All Blacks, they had the execution. They had the ability to go the length of the field and make sure they put passes together and work through phases, sometimes 11 and 12 phases. They had that bit of extra special play that they came up with. But a strange old night for Ethan de Groot. You're on the bench, you come on, you score a try within 30 seconds, and then you get a red card. And I certainly do believe it was a red card when we looked at that last angle, because no wrapping of the arms, shoulder to the head, it is a red card. So the bunker now 2 red cards with Tom Curry for England against Argentina. This one here for de Groot against Namibia. So we are looking after players' safety, we're looking after their welfare. There was an injury that came from it as well for the Namibian player. So disappointment for that for New Zealand, but overall, as far as what Ian Foster would be happy with, they've come back after that defeat by France. They've picked up a crucial victory, the bonus point well secured, and they've also come up with a performance which has been worthy of a team who want to go further in this competition.
Well, it has taken a week longer than they had hoped, but New Zealand do get their first win at this Rugby World Cup 2023 in France. They have beaten Namibia by 71 points to 3. New Zealand, who will face Italy next, that game in Lyon next Friday night, and then it's the same stadium the following week, the All Blacks' final group game against Uruguay. For Namibia, well, their task doesn't really get any easier for the Namibians. Next up, France.
Do you notice the pause I left there? You don't want to be playing France next up, do you? I'll tell you why you don't want to be playing France next up, because we saw them play against Uruguay yesterday, and you can guarantee that Fabien Gaultier isn't going to be too happy with that performance, because he changed a lot of players around. So you would expect his key performers to come back in that next up game. So for Namibia, I suspect they'll be looking, though, in all realistic intents and purposes, they'll be looking at playing against Uruguay. They'll be looking at trying to come up with something there in that game to try and make that their big performance and try and get a victory. They've never got a victory. They've gone 24 games now at the Rugby World Cup without a victory, as we hear from the MasterCard player of the match.
The match is Cam Roigard, and presenting the trophy is Sasha Rodrigue.
Let's hear from
Cam, first of all, congratulations. What an amazing start to your Rugby World Cup career. 2 tries, couple of assists. Just tell us how you're feeling and what you're going through after this standout performance today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm probably pretty, I suppose, pretty surreal. You know, the atmosphere here is outstanding, and I suppose we're quite fortunate that our forwards are dominant, giving me a good platform to play off. But yeah, on the other side, credit to Namibia, and they showed a lot of passion and heart. And yeah, I'd also like to mention that that fella that injured his leg, I hope he's all right. Yeah, we don't like seeing people get injured like that, so I hope he's all good.
And just tell me about this combination with Damien McKenzie. It looks like you're 2 peas in the pod.
Yeah, I suppose we've had some training reps together, and we're sort of starting to work out how we like to play. And I know that his attacking style suits mine as well. So, yeah, really enjoyed it tonight playing alongside him.
Congratulations, Cam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Big night for him. One he'll never forget, Cam Roigard scoring the second and third tries of his international career. They both came early for him in a game, and he'll hope now to see more action at this tournament, having made a player of the match performance here in Toulouse. Tough night for Namibia. It always was going to be. Johan Daisel, who scored a try against them in 2015, he was the player who came closest to scoring a Namibian try this evening. But it was a night that the All Blacks refused to budge. From a defensive point of view, they made their tackles. They kept a clean sheet in terms of tries. Just the one kick from Swanepoel that was to go over the line. Johan Daisel, who is the captain of Namibia, we can hear from him now.
Johan, it wasn't the scoreline that you would have preferred. We saw that you managed to score a try in 2015. You didn't get it tonight, but you came so close. How proud are you of this Namibian team?
Yeah, first of all, New Zealand was incredible tonight, especially the first half. We couldn't stop them. Second half, proud of the boys. We fought back. We chased that try. We couldn't get it, but we had a few chances and they just stopped us. So still proud of our boys.
What about the Toulouse crowd? They were getting behind you. It was like, you know, they were all behind the Namibian team. As soon as you got to into the 22, deep into the 22, you heard them. They were shouting, they were screaming. How does that feel to have the French crowd behind you?
Yeah, it was incredible. They although I saw a lot of black jerseys, but they supported us when we almost got there. So it was amazing. The atmosphere is unbelievable. So yeah, it's an unbelievable World Cup so far. So thanks to the crowd, everyone that came out and supported us.
For the next match, they won't be behind you, probably, but it won't make the difference. The fact is that you're going to give absolutely everything, I imagine, to this clash against France next week.
Yes, for sure. Unbelievable opportunity for us to play against the host nation. So will be an awesome experience to play in a big stadium like the Velodrome. So we look forward to it. We will give it our all.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Johan Daisel there. Yeah, the neutrals in the crowd. There won't be any neutrals, will they, on home soil against the French? It will be a more partisan atmosphere for Namibia, whose wait to win a game at a Rugby World Cup continues. They will feel they're making strides. They will feel the improvements are there. But when you come up against world-class elite teams such as the All Blacks, and you still see the gulf in class that does exist with those very, very top nations. New Zealand back in business tonight. They've had to play their opening 2 games of this tournament without their captain Sam Cane. Stepping in for him, Ardie Savea.
Yourself points on the scoreboard in this group, in this difficult pool. Just tell us, basically, what was it like out there, and how good did it feel to play amongst this new changed team that you got?
Yeah, talofa lava, maru love, soi fought. Yeah, mate, it's a good feeling getting the win today, especially after last week's result. Just very proud of the men. For, I guess, having a good week of prep and then coming tonight and getting the win like we did. Still a few areas that Namibia put us under pressure, but we'll take that.
Which are the areas that you want to improve on? What did you see in this game tonight that you thought, well, we can do better there?
Yeah, like our discipline. In our defence, we gave a few penalties away and they got opportunities to drive, and we want to eliminate those, so we want to be ruthless in that area. So, but hey. Out of all the positives, you can look at the negatives, but I'm very proud of the men. There's a few guys that got their first, Real Cup match, and obviously Sammy getting his milestone, so it's a really honour.
Yeah, and those facts were the 9-10 combination. Just tell us what you thought about Cam and Damien working together.
Yeah, I thought, they controlled the game well. Damo was being normal Damo and finding space, and Cam's running game really exploded around the breakdown, so very proud of the men, very proud of the boys. It's awesome.
Thanks very much, Ardie.
Cheers. Thank you.
Ardie Savea there, the only New Zealand All Black who has started every game that the team has played this year. He mentioned the milestone for Sam Whitelock, 148th cap drawing level with Richie McCaw, which is some achievement in himself. Lovely scenes here as Cam Roigard spots his family in the crowd and is able to go and celebrate with them. The Namibian players are on a lap of honour. They are taking in the adulation of the crowd. They've been on the receiving end of a 71-3 defeat, but they still leave with their heads held high. They've taken on the world-famous All Blacks, and they have done their best over 80 minutes of top-class international rugby against one of the best teams in the world. We're going to hear from their coach, the former Springbok coach, Alistair Coetzee.
You came close to scoring tries against the All Blacks. Just tell us how proud you are of this team.
No, 100%. I think I can't compliment the fight of the team, more than, again, tonight. Even when we brought on substitutes in the second half, there was some fight there. We were up against a classy All Black side. The pace in which they play, it was quite tough for our boys, but look, we learned lessons tonight again. If you look at when last Namibia's outfit played against a team, as a world-class team like the All Blacks, I think it's been the last World Cup, mate, and we take a hell of a lot of positives from this. Again, a couple opportunities which we have created, which we didn't take, so that's good, as long as you keep creating that.
Are you seeing a constant improvement in the team as they move into this competition, having seen your boys play 2 matches?
No, 100%. We've got France next, and our World Cup is basically the last game, and these are all building blocks. Like I said, we can do better at set piece. We were put under severe pressure there, but, there was still fight. I think what we need to get better, though, is making sure we look after the ball.
Thanks so much for your time, Alistair. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alistair Coetzee there. Yeah, they'll need to look after the ball against France last weekend. But lovely scenes here as the Namibian players take the adulation of the crowd. It sounds a little bit patronising to say it, but for some countries, just being at this Rugby World Cup, that is the big achievement.
Absolutely. And there's always one game that these teams can suspect they can win. And with this one, it comes down to that match that he spoke about, which is Uruguay. For New Zealand, bigger fish to fry for them.
We mentioned the start of the night, heavy is the crown on the All Blacks coach, and for Ian Foster, bit of a hiding to nothing tonight. Everyone expected New Zealand to come away with a comfortable victory. He'll be very relieved that things didn't go any way other than that. We heard Ardie Savea feeling that some improvements are being needed. It's going to be interesting to hear from the All Black coach, which we're going to do now. Here is Ian Foster.
Ian, you made numerous changes. We talked about it pre-match. Those changes worked. The combinations worked. Tell us a little bit of your thoughts of how the match went for you.
Well, we went in clearly to try to establish ourselves up front, particularly, and I thought we got that dominance pretty early, which was key to the game, and it enabled us to, I guess, pick and choose how we wanted to play after that. But, you know, obviously we're delighted with the result, with the performance, and it's a step forward.
What about the little blip regarding Ethan de Groot? You know, it's obviously a bit of a blow to the front row. Tell us a little bit more about that and your thoughts about that.
Oh, we'll just go home and we'll have a look.